The cicadas cried constantly outside the window, the old electric fan creaked, and the windows of the huge room were wide open, and the water blue curtains fluttered with the breeze. There was a man lying on the princess bed, frowning slightly, and it was too hot to make her feel uncomfortable even if the fan was on. Suddenly, Song Ran opened her eyes, she clutched her chest, panting violently. Looking around, why don't you see Wen Huai? She left when she was angry? When she saw the layout of the room and the calendar hanging on the wall, she couldn't help but be stunned. July 23, 1988. Are you dreaming? Do you want her to make up for regrets in her dream? It was this day, and it was this day that Wen Huai framed her and took away the man who belonged to her. Since then, Gu Jingxing has been on the rise, and Wen Huai naturally followed her husband to cock and dog ascend to heaven. On the contrary, it was their Song family, who was originally a wealthy party, but was calculated by the ambitious people for their wealth, and thus fell into a ruined family. Song Ran tried to recall. At this point in time, it seemed that Wen Huai had just finished asking her feelings about Gu Jingxing. Gu Jingxing was introduced to her by her little uncle's military leader. In fact, she liked it very much, but she had been arrogant and spoiled since childhood. Wen Huai kept boasting that Song Ran would definitely be better after following Gu Jingxing. She climbed him up high. She just said nonsense, I'm just a poor boy in the country, what happened to the battalion commander? It was she who followed Wen Huai's way. Yes, she thought Wen Huai was her best friend. She had always treated Wen Huai very well, so how could she deliberately guard against her? Counting the time, Wen Huai has been away for 2 hours. It's 5 o'clock in the evening. At this time, she went to Gu Jingxing with the medicated wine and used it as his explanation. No, she must not be allowed to succeed. Song Ran grabbed the small handbag on the bedside table and rushed out desperately. Her life has gone wrong from this day, and she will do her best to make up for the mistakes she made. Gu Jingxing is very good, she shouldn't be so proud, she shouldn't be cold and violent after learning about him and Wen Huai, and stop paying attention to him ever since. He originally wanted to explain, even if he learned that she looked down on him, he still wanted to be with her, and he still wanted to save the relationship. But Song Ran was so proud, like a little peacock, she had the same legs as other women, and she turned her head back to find her, she simply despised him from the bottom of her heart. In this way, he pushed Gu Jingxing to Wen Huai's side again. Wen Huai's scheming was too deep. She calculated this day because it happened to be her ovulation period. 1 month later, she took the hospital test sheet and told Gu Jingxing that she was pregnant. Gu Jingxing has always had a sense of responsibility. Song Ran made him feel frustrated, so he accepted the arrangement of fate and married Wen Huai. Song Ran hurriedly went outside with her handbag, and went downstairs. Her eldest sister called her in the living room, "Is there still a heavy heat outside? The sun is very big, where are you going?" That was her eldest sister who was alive. She wanted to give her a hug and told her that she missed her very much. But now, she has more important things to do. "I'll go out." "You girl, Madame Wu cooked mung bean soup, I let it cool, you can drink a little before going out." "No big sister, I'm too late." Without looking back, she rushed out of the bungalow and onto the road. Well, why is the sun in the evening in the 1980s so beautiful? Song Ran stopped a taxi and hurriedly got in the car. "Master, go to the military district compound." It's not close to the military area compound, and it costs a lot of money to take a taxi. Fortunately, the Song family is quite rich at this time and can still withstand what she made. The master stepped on the accelerator unhurriedly and walked slowly on the wide road. Song Ran was anxious. "Master, can you hurry up? I'm in a hurry." The master seems to be a slow person. "Oh girl, don't worry, you appreciate the scenery outside. The plane trees on this road are the best to see. This street in the evening of the day is the most beautiful place in the city. Why does Song Ran feel that way? Master, if you slow down like this, my man will be snatched away. Ah! What man is going to be robbed? For this kind of gossip incident, the master is obviously very interested. Song Ran anxiously looked at the time on his watch. There is a woman who has fallen in love with my man. She wants to sleep with my man by tricks. If I don't get there in time, she will succeed. The master slammed on the accelerator. Little girl, you are lucky today. I am the #1 old driver in Hiken. Don't worry, I promise to send it to you as quickly as possible. The car was galloping forward as if the rocket launcher was installed. The master kept honking the horn, and the cars in front gave way. Song Ran's heart was overwhelmed and uneasy. She clasped fists in both hands and closed her eyes nervously. Gu Jingxing, you have to hold on, you have to wait for me, you have to wait for me. It would have taken an hour and a half to travel, but it was abruptly shrunk to 40 minutes. When Song Ran saw the familiar high gate of the compound and the sentry standing on the high platform, his heart beat even more. She shook out a piece of 5 yuan in her handbag and gave it to the master. No need to look for it. After finishing speaking, he hurriedly got out of the car, and the master shouted and cheered her back. Come on, little girl, I am optimistic about you. Song Ran ran to the gate panting, but was stopped by the sentry. If you want to enter the military compound, you must have a pass, or you must have soldiers inside to lead the people. Song Ran did not. Big brother, I'm looking for you, Battalion Commander Gu. You should know me. I have been here a few times. I am your girlfriend of Battalion Commander Gu. The sentry remained unmoved. Then you go to the communication room next to Captain Gu and call Battalion Commander Gu and ask him to come out and pick you up. My dear mother, can you not be so rigid? At this juncture of life and death, you actually want her to call. Even if you call, it is estimated that no one will answer. Estimating the time, Gu Jingxing should have drunk the medicated wine. Song Ran was so anxious to jump her feet, there was no way. Go anxious still jumped the wall. She stretched out her finger behind the sentry. Ah, the head is good. The sentry did not tire of deceit and looked back. Song Ran hurriedly ran away, desperately running forward. She was racing against time. She wanted to rescue the man who belonged to her. She would not let Wen Huai succeed. The sentry chased after, blowing his whistle. Hey, stop! Song Ran gritted his teeth and ran out of the speed of a 100-meter flying man to participate in the Olympics. Human potential is really huge. Song Ran felt like he was about to fly. Soon, she rushed into the small building where Gu Jing was staying. She clutched her chest and stood in the doorway panting. The door was closed. There were women talking and laughing inside. Song Ran's heart jumped to his throat. Footsteps sounded behind him, and Song Ran looked back in horror. The sentry had already chased him. She raised her hand anxiously and knocked on the door. Gu Jingxing opened the door, quickly opened the door, and quickly let me in. She did not dare to speak. She was afraid that Wen Huai would not open the door to her when she heard her voice, so she could only call Gu Jingxing's name anxiously in her heart. Wen Huai's vigilant voice came from inside. Who? The sentry finally ran after her. Sister, you can't break the rules of our troops, hurry up and follow me. Song Ran knocked on the door more fiercely, and she had no choice but to make a sound. Gu Jingxing, it's me, I'm Song Ran, open the door soon. There was the sound of messy footsteps, but the sound gradually faded away, as if Wen Huai helped him into the room. That's it. The sentry has already begun to pull her arm. Miss Song, hurry up with me, if someone else finds out, I will be punished. Song Ran couldn't care about anything else. He knocked the door to the sky, and then kicked his feet again, screaming and screaming, causing the opposite person to open the door. Gu Jingxing, open the door quickly, I have something to tell you, open the door quickly. There was no sound inside, and it was quiet. When the dusk fell, the whole building was enveloped by darkness. Song Ran's heart slowly, slowly sinking, a dead silence. She didn't give up, and continued to call Gu Jingxing's name dumbly, the more desperate she called. This time, is there still no way to recover it? Just when she was dragged back by the sentry. With a creak, the door opened, and a light came from inside, as if the light of redemption entered Song Ran's dark world. She broke free of the sentry and rushed to the door. The door opened wider, and Gu Jingxing's tall figure was standing in the doorway, standing in the twilight dusk, with the orange light coming from behind him. He was like an angel. Song Ran rushed over, and saw Gu Jingxing's face flushed and her eyes loose. She hugged him, and the weight of his entire body fell on her. Xiao Ran! Ran Ran! The thick, disturbed voice rang in her ears. Song Ran hugged him tighter, stretched out his hand to caress his back, and comforted him. I'm here, Jingxing, I'm here. Gu Jingxing's body was very hot, and his consciousness was not sober. Even so, he recklessly opened the door for her and let her come to him. Such a good him, how could she bear to reject him? Such a good him, how could she let Wen Huai's trickery succeed? Well, Jingxing, it's me, I'm Ran Ran, it's your Ran Ran, I'm here, I'm here. Gu Jingxing just lay on her body, clasping the back of her head with one hand, unable to speak, gasping for air hummingly. His breath was hot and spilled on the back of her neck. Song Ran freed up 2 points of energy and said to the sentinel behind him, well, you have your battalion commander Gu here, you can rest assured, I will let battalion commander Gu talk to your leader when I look back. The sentry saluted Gu Jingxing and quietly retreated. Song Ran raised his eyes again, and Wen Huai appeared in front of her with a flustered and surprised face. At this time, Wen Huai was just like her, she was just an 18-year-old girl. Song Ran didn't know the world, but Wen Huai had long been scheming. In her previous life, she was miscalculated by this woman. In this life, she will never be stupid again, and will never let the woman in front of her lead her nose. Xiao Ran, why did you come here? Wen Huai's voice was filled with a faint smile. She was flustered. How could she not flustered, how could she not be surprised? Song Ran's kind of little peacock with its tail up to the sky, without Gu Jingxing's initiative to find her, she would never visit this military area compound. At the moment when she was about to succeed, the girl ran abnormally, breaking through and rushing in. Is there anything important to her? Song Ran struggled to support Gu Jingxing, who was weighing all of her body weight on her, and smiled at Wen Huai. I want to see the scenery, can't I come to see him? The smile on the corner of Wen Huai's mouth was a little uncomfortable. She fiddled with the corners of her clothes awkwardly. Why, how not, of course. Gu Jingxing's breathing became more and more rapid. Song Ran knew that he was uncomfortable, and she stroked the back of his head to comfort him. Can my boyfriend and I be alone? This is equivalent to an order to evict customers. Wen Huai looked at the man in front of her panickedly. This man was drugged by her, and Song Ran just broke in at this moment. Isn't this the equivalent of sending Song Ran to his bed? A person so proud of Song Ran, without this opportunity, would definitely not agree to do this kind of thing before marriage, so she would have the opportunity to take Gu Jingxing again. Xiao Ran, it's getting late. You can go with me and let Camp Commander Gu take a good rest. You have to take Song Ran away for everything. People like Gu Jingxing, once Song Ran is asleep, plus he loves her so much, he must marry her and enter the door immediately. At that time, she had no chance at all. Song Ran couldn't hold it anymore, so she could only put her arms around Gu Jingxing and leaned against the wall. The tall man almost crushed her. His body is getting hotter and hotter, almost burning her sanity. No. Wen Huai's expression completely changed as soon as Song Ran said. Song Ran seemed to change suddenly. No, Jingxing seems very uncomfortable. I want to stay and take care of him. Wen Huai was in a hurry and stepped forward to help Gu Jingxing. He just drank some wine. Let's help him into the room and let him rest. Gu Jingxing instinctively pushed her away, the last trace of reason remaining, causing him to blurt out, "Xia Ran let you go." When Huai was about to die. Didn't this man only hear Song Ran say in the afternoon and look down on him because he is a poor boy in the country? Why are you confused now? She said bitterly, "Jingxing, have you forgotten what you heard today?" She didn't dare to say clearly, because Song Ran was still here. Although she didn't say it clearly, Song Ran's heart was like Ming Jing. She hadn't spoken yet, but listened to Gu Jingxing's aura and said, no matter what she said, she is Xia Ran. She came to me, she came to me. Yes, that's it. Song Ran's eyes were slightly wet, he was the best Gu Jingxing in the world. When Huai wants to say something more. Enough, you can go. Gu Jingxing forcibly issued an eviction order. When Huai would really show her feet if she didn't leave. She couldn't help but glanced at the two people in front of her unwillingly, gritted her teeth, and walked out. It is a pity that all previous efforts have been abandoned. Song Ran raised his foot and closed the door. Looking up again, he ran into Gu Jingxing's deep, clear pair of eyes that were incompatible with his temperament. The incandescent lamp was swaying behind him, and the summer night's wind was blowing, with just the right ambiguous sweetness. This is love, it is the love that makes people blush and heartbeat, and the deer bumps into each other. Xia Ran, you sweat a lot. Gu Jingxing's voice was too thick, he was trying his best to restrain it, Song Ran knew. Of course she would sweat profusely when she ran all the way. His eyes were flowing turbulently, and fine beads of sweat appeared on the tip of his high nose. When staring at her, he couldn't help sticking out his tongue and licking his thin lips. The little fox-like woman in front of him hooked him to death. Well, it's pretty hot outside, Gu Jingxing, well, you. Gu Jingxing had an iron arm hoop around her waist, and his other hand buckled the back of her head to prevent her head from hitting a hard wall. Want her? Every drop of blood on his body was tumbling. He closed his eyes, all the turbulent breath spilled on the end of her nose, and the foreign body in his mouth made her terrified. The Gu Jingxing she saw had always been upright, self-denying, and decent. He suddenly became so extensive that she was at a loss. His long tongue drove straight in, hooked her small tongue, and tried to absorb the sweetness that belonged to her. Jingxing. Song Ran's body dropped straight down. Fortunately, Gu Jingxing's solid arm hooked her. She was so flustered that she even forgot how to breathe. Gu Jingxing picked her up and walked straight into the room, where there was only an iron bed and a desk painted with brown paint. The bed was neatly folded with dark green sheets and quilts, and the square windows were wide open, with a little cool breeze blowing in the curtains, which could not dissipate the flaming heat between the two. Gu Jingxing gently put her on the bed, then pressed it up by himself. The iron bed sank 2 minutes, making a creaking sound. Gu Jingxing's eyes were about to burn, and his face was flushed. Song Ran knew that the drug effect in his body should have taken place. She stared at the man in front of her nervously, pushing her small hand on his chest, and Gu Jingxing bowed her head and buried her in her neck. The dampness and heat instantly shed, and she closed her eyes tightly in fright. She just ran over impulsively. She never thought that if Wen Huai left, she would stay and face what Gu Jingxing would be. What a dangerous and terrifying Gu Jingxing! Such Gu Jingxing, can bear it? The man was like a hot red stone, hard and hot, and his teeth made her tremble. Jingxing! Jingxing! She groaned softly, this strange feeling was really unfamiliar. However, if she can make him comfortable, even if she is afraid, she is willing to let him kiss all the way down. Do my best. Gu Jingxing suddenly raised his head, as if suddenly awakened by her voice. Song Ran stretched out his hand and stroked his wheat-colored face. Why, what's wrong? Gu Jingxing's expression was very confused. I scared you, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what's wrong with me. Songran bit his lower lip, stroked his cheek, and made up his mind, I'm fine, Jing Xing, it's okay, it doesn't matter. Even so, Songran blushed with shame under Gu Jingxing's scorching eyes. Gu Jingxing suddenly got up from her and rushed out hastily. With a cry, the sound of closing the door came. He went out. He went out? Songran was a little stupid, how could he stand it? She hurriedly straightened out the messy neckline, and rushed out with Gu Jingxing in a hurry. Outside the house is a large yard. The empty and flat concrete floor was sprinkled with water by the family members of the military area in the evening. At this moment, the evening breeze blows, and the coolness blows on his face. There was a well at the east end of the yard. Gu Jingxing took off his shirt and stood by the well. He picked up a bucket of well water and poured it down. There was a crash, and the sound was particularly noticeable in the silent night. Songran was barefoot, stepping on a small puddle, and rushed to his side. Jingxing, what are you doing? Gu Jingxing's wheat-colored skin looks particularly attractive under the moonlight, and the body that has been exercising all the year round is strong and powerful, which makes people unable to move away from it. Gu Jingxing picked up another bucket of water and said to Songran with a rough voice, Xia Ran, you, get out of the way, the water in the well is cold, don't splash you on your body. You also said that the water in the well is cold. You can easily get sick if you pour it down like this. I just think it's too hot, I'm fine, don't worry. Holding a bucket of water, Gu Jingxing took a step back, raised his hand high, and poured the bucket of water down again. Wow, the water drops still splashed on Songran's skirt and calf. With tears in her eyes, she watched the man in front of her pouring buckets of well water. She knew that he was panicked because he loved her too much, because he cherished her too much. He didn't dare to touch her or tarnish her when he was not married, for fear of ruining her name and for fear that she would be pointed out. After all, in the 1980s, the atmosphere was not yet open, and he was an upright and orthodox soldier. She didn't know how it would feel for a man not to be relieved after taking that kind of medicine, but from his restrained snoring and the slightly trembling fingers holding the bucket, he could feel his pain and his suffering. She knew that he was very stubborn and couldn't persuade him at this time. She squatted aside, just looking at him. The evening breeze was slightly cool, and the lights in the compound dormitory were on in 2s and 3s, and the bright stars in the sky, for the first time, made Songran feel real. Is all this true? Isn't it a dream? Isn't it a dream? At this moment, she remembered to slap herself, and with a slap, the slap fell on her mouth. It hurts, she's so happy. A man squatted on the ground and laughed loudly. Gu Jingxing was so frightened that Gu Jingxing stopped what he was doing, put down the wooden barrel, walked up to Songran a few steps, and reached out to touch her forehead. Xia Ran, what's wrong with you? He thought her brain was broken, otherwise, how could the little fox, who has always been so proud, come to his dorm at night without inviting him? Songran hugged his knees with both hands and looked up at him. In an instant, tears rolled down like a broken bead. Jingxing, I miss you very much. Gu Jingxing was taken aback, then squatted distressedly in front of her, reaching out to wipe her tears. What's wrong? Gu Jingxing was puzzled, a little at a loss. It was this girl who said that he was a poor boy during the day and looked down on him, but now he rushed over and said sincerely that he was also the girl who missed him. What's wrong with her? Songran cried more fiercely. She cried and wiped her tears. She was too hard in her life and her temperament was hard. Since then, Gu Jingxing wanted to see her many times and wanted to explain to her, but she avoided seeing her. As a result, wasted half a life, leaving a lifetime of regret. Gu Jingxing felt very distressed, holding her face in her hands, her voice softly, Xia Ran, what's the matter with you? Songran bit her lip and stared at him, are you still uncomfortable? Gu Jingxing shook his head, it's much better, I send you back. I won't go back. Late at night, Song Ran was lying on Gu Jingxing's single iron frame bed without sleep. How could she fall asleep like that? There are so many things to think about. She has never married for the whole life. She is also a very stubborn person. She believes that Gu Jingxing betrayed her, so she used her long life to tell the heartbreaker that she loves someone. How to guard oneself like jade, how to be strict with oneself. She is so stupid that she is so stupid. On the one hand, she has never accepted the admiration of any suitor, on the other hand, she has not accepted Gu Jingxing's explanation. She built high walls around herself, painted the ground as a prison, and closed herself up. When Wen Huai saw this situation, she secretly smiled somewhere she couldn't see it. Song Ran, how could there be a fool like you in the world? The moonlight was very good. Song Ran lay on his side, looking at the heavy-breathing man on the ground, with a lot of thoughts and emotions, and in the end it only turned into a touch. The condition of their single dormitory for cotters is pretty good. There is an outer hall and a bedroom. However, this is a concrete floor and he has no paved. He just lay on it and slept all night, which is definitely not good for the health. A fool, Gu Jingxing is really a fool. What does Song Ran deserve for him to be so good to her? Xiao Ran. Wan Lai was silent, his voice seemed to penetrate deep into her heart. She responded lightly. Xiao Ran. Okay. Xiao Ran. His voice was a little vague, as if he was talking. Song Ran knew that he was talking in sleep. Song Ran thought to himself, I will call my name when I talk in my dreams. It seems that you really love me. How can I be? Xiao Ran. Gu Jingxing was still calling her name over and over again with her turbulent breathing. Song Ran realized that this Gu Jingxing seemed to be a little abnormal. She hurriedly reached out to explore his forehead, and screamed in horror when she touched his forehead. It was too hot. His forehead was hot and he had a high fever. Song Ran could still lie down, and hurriedly got up, turned on the light in the room, squatted next to Gu Jingxing, stretched out her hand and gently pushed him. Jingxing. Gu Jingxing barely opened his eyes, his throat was like a fire. This night he was given that kind of medicine, drank a lot of alcohol, poured a few large buckets of ice water, and slept on the concrete floor for a while. The iron-struck body can't stand such a toss. Jingxing, you go to bed first. Gu Jingxing acted bravely. It's okay, I'm afraid of heat, so I just sleep on the ground, you go to sleep. Song Ran suddenly became angry, and the voice was also raised 8 degrees, I'm talking, you don't listen to it, are you? Gu Jingxing was most afraid that Song Ran was angry. When he saw Song Ran glaring at him with his hands on his hips, he looked at himself angrily, a little confused. What happened to the little girl? If I sleep in bed, where do you sleep? What do you sleep? Do you have medicine here? Song Ran helped Gu Jingxing to lie down on the bed, and his voice softened again, with a little bit of anger and blame. Medicine. Song Ran shook his head. This big single man really doesn't know how to take care of himself, really, to make her feel bad. You have a fever, don't you know it yourself? Gu Jingxing is young and strong. He exercises all the year round. He almost never gets sick. He never suffers from some cold and fever problems. Of course, he doesn't know that he is sick. Of course, he doesn't have any fever medicine at home. No medicine. He stared at her somewhat innocently. Song Ran shook his head and sighed. Will there be those in the dormitory next door? Gu Jingxing touched the back of his head. This house is full of singles. I guess, they won't prepare this kind of thing. What about the next building? That's all married. Song Ran turned around to walk out, but was grabbed by the people behind him. Xiao Ran, I'm really fine. Just sleep. Song Ran frowned and looked at him. Gu Jingxing, I want you to take good care of your body, you know. Passing away in the 50s really counts as early death, it must be because he doesn't cherish himself at all. Gu Jingxing was taken aback again. Is Song Ran also ill? I never expected to hear such thoughtful and gentle words from her before. While Gu Jingxing was in a daze, Song Ran had already walked out of his dormitory. The moonlight shone everywhere, and the huge courtyard was quiet. Song Ranyu took Gu Jingxing's big slippers and hurriedly walked to a 4-story dormitory building next door. The hallway was filled with sensor lights, all black. Song Ran stomped his foot until the dim light came on. There were 4 households on the first floor. Song Ran wondered where to start. She tiptoedly walked to the door of the nearest house, pressed her ear to the door, and it was quiet inside. It may be asleep, so it's better not to disturb others. She walked to the opposite door again, and put her ear on the door as usual. There was a sound inside. She was happy, and just about to knock on the door, she realized that there was something wrong with the sound inside. After reacting, she blushed, as if the people in it were living a married life. If she knocked on the door suddenly, it would be too embarrassing. She quickly put down her raised hand, and walked in lightly. At the third door, she surreptitiously raised her ears to listen to the movement inside. There was a sonorous inside. Song Ran was excited. Well, this family is watching TV. She hurriedly reached out and knocked on the door. After a while, a man in a white sweatshirt and big pants came over to open the door. He looked at Song Ran suspiciously. Girl, are you? A woman's voice sounded behind him. Isn't that the beautiful little girlfriend of Captain Gu? Why did you come to my house at night? Song Ran said anxiously. Gu battalion commander is sick and has a high fever. I want to ask the eldest sister, do you have any medicine in your family? When the eldest sister heard this, wait a minute, sister said, walk back to the room, and quickly walked over with a version of the capsule. This one specializes in fever reduction, take 2 tablets, and then drink more water. Song Ran took the pills, thanked the eldest sister and brother again and again, and was about to go back. The elder sister held her again. There must be no boiling water in the dormitory of Captain Gu, right? Song Ran nodded blankly. Okay, it seems like there is not. Big men don't drink hot water all year round, how can they prepare hot water in this summer? The eldest sister turned around again and entered the room. After a while, she opened the curtain and carried a thermos bottle with peony flowers on it and walked to Song Ran. Give Camp Commander Gu a little more hot water and sweat a little bit. I'm in good health, and I'm sure I'll be alive and well again tomorrow morning. Song Ran thankfully left with the medicine. The man whispered, didn't Captain Gu's little girlfriend always ignore Captain Gu? We all say that she is like a proud little cock. Every day, he makes Captain Gu change to a gentle one. The woman punched him. People always persuade him to make peace but not to discriminate. You are not allowed to say such things in the future, you know. I know, I know.